Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi, everyone. It's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Right now, we're discussing and reading Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. And today, we're talking about Chapter 7.
Previously on Wizard Team. What did we discuss? So we finally learned something, the minutest amount about the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs from Mr. Ware. And he definitely sent her away with this is all you can get, and read this little pamphlet for everyone
said,
else. Get out of my
"Come
office."
back next
So that
time.
was fantastic, I suppose. Yeah.
He said, "You don't have to go
You
home.
want
You got to
questions
get out of
answered?
here."
We don't do that over here. Yeah. I'm on vacation, so you figure that out.
I'm doing the bare minimum.
Also, we learned that Amari's magical potential and ability is thermometer breaking levels, and it's worrying to Mr. Ware, it seems, but also he has no answer, so it's also worrying to her, but she can say, like Blue Ivy, that she's never seen a ceiling in her whole life, so I'm just glad that we do get to see what happens, what that actually means in this chapter. So she's not waiting for, next chapter. She doesn't have a long time to go without figuring out what's going on with her.
She's had to wait a lot so far in this book. Sorry, I just realized.
She's been waiting for months.
She gets one thing, and they're like, she gets one thing. It's like, nah, you can't open it for 8 hours. Then she gets this other thing. It's like, nah, just show up tomorrow. Like she has the patience of a saint. Like she really is out here.
The thing that's also kind of funny about it is she does have to wait a lot, but then it goes really fast too. Like she has no idea what's happening, and then it's like, show up tomorrow, be here,
right.
So
it's both fast and
it's like
she has to wait at the same time.
yeah.
She's basically Flint Floss with why I gotta wait. That's her anthem in life right now. Just that part of the song, because the rest of the song really does not apply to her. But why I gotta wait is very much Amari's right now.
Yeah.
And then we also learned, and I mentioned this, she gets ushered away, and she has nothing with her but that pamphlet. So we hopefully she can learn more, and she is told that she needs to report at a certain time at a certain place the very next day to be included into whatever Quentin signed her up for. So again, does she know what she's been signed up for? No, not really. She just knows that she needs to show up for it, and that has something to do with something called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs.
Yeah. Okay, so we start the chapter, and Amari is calling her mama on the phone while she's at work, and she knows she's not supposed to, which is big thing all kids do for varying degrees of what's the word, necessity.
Yeah.
So mom is already kind of irritated that she is calling because it's not, she's like, are you okay? There's no medical emergency or anything. But Amari is like, it is kind of an emergency because I have to be somewhere tomorrow. I know I'm grounded, but she kind of is telling her mom about this camp without telling her because of all the secrets, and she's not really supposed to say that it's supernatural and all that. But for her mom, just hearing that it was Quentin's old summer camp, she's kind of like, okay, I'll call them and, get more information. But it kind of, that explanation seems to be enough. Yeah. Also, so they have this in the pamphlet that she has, they have this number listed in the How to Deal with Non-Bureau Parents pamphlet. So it's the number that they call to get more information, and it's how you kind of tell them about the camp, I guess, which is, I mean, I think we'll get further into it. There are like a couple other moments that come up in like later in the chapter. Um, but it's just like really hard because you like parents are like kind of giving permission for their kids to do this thing that they don't actually understand like what it is. So it's not
Yeah, I was
100%
thinking
consensual.
I was thinking a little bit about that dumb wizard boy, and
Mhm.
I don't like when like kids were basically um dying and getting petrified at Hogwarts, and we have like one of my all-time favorite lines from Dean, which he was like, "My mama don't know nothing about no deaths at Hogwarts because I wasn't dumb enough, like I wasn't gonna tell her." And I remember like having the reaction of like, there is no way that that is okay for you to like not have a full understanding of like
What's going on with your kid?
what's going
But
on with
also,
your
it's
kid,
not
and
up to
also
the
like
kid to
the
tell you that
potential.
because if the kid wants to go, of course they would keep things from you, right? Like,
Right.
like Amari's on a mission, like so. Yeah, it's on her end. Yes, it makes 100% sense why she would not be telling her mom that she's going to this place that is partially, most likely, the reason or had something to do with her brother's disappearance.
Right.
But on the bureau side,
It's like
like
parents are
Negligence.
trying to make informed decisions and they don't
right.
have all of the information, and
And
that
there
is
has to be a way to like for those non-bureau parents, there has to be a way to like give them information and like also ensure secrecy.
secrecy. And I think that, so again, Mercy Thompson. Like one of
Mhm.
the things that I really like about like that series is when like mundane people get brought into it. There's always the risk that they would go around and like, spill secrets, but like it's always told to them like very seriously, like these people don't like to be talked about, and if they find out that you're talking about them, you and all of yours are in serious trouble, and they will
Mhm.
disappear you, right? Like there's
Mhm.
like a scared into silence type of thing that just like makes them understand that like not only do we keep these secrets and like are very serious about keeping these secrets, but like you are also unmatched to go
Mhm.
up against like supernatural beings, right? So like
Right.
I think that that in and of itself is enough, right? To be like, okay, I know this, and we also know that they have like memory charms or whatever. So like tell the parents everything. If they agree, then it's like you were sworn to secrecy because, and like here are the consequences of that.
Right.
And if they're like, hell no, my kids are not going here, then you wipe their memory
And then
and
go on.
keep going. Yeah, it's just like this is unnecessary.
I could even see no, I don't know. Maybe not. Cuz I was like I could even see like giving the parents all that information, having them consent with full knowledge and then wiping their memory. Maybe. Or like
No,
editing
I
their
feel like you
memory.
have to like continuously, yeah, maybe edit their
I could say
memory.
editing, not wipe, but like edit in some way where like because the other thing, so we'll keep going. Like, so after Amari gets off the phone with her mom, she opens her starter kit that she was given by Mr. Ware. And so it has like one, it has her own copy of 1001 Careers, and it's the protected edition. It's so protected she can't read it. So like the pages are blank. But then she also gets um this thing called True Sight by Voila Pharmaceuticals, which the names in this book are amazing. So they're basically eye drops. And so when she takes them, we find out that like she's will see as the chapter goes on, like now she's able to see things she wasn't able to see before. So I could even see like if you're telling the parents all this information, but they can't actually see it, I think that also is still another level of protection, right? Even if you let them see it for like a minute so that they can actually believe what's going on, but then after that you take it away and then they, you know what I mean, are still going about their lives not like aware in the moment who all is supernatural and who's not. I think that's still another level of protection that should work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely like the further we get into the bureau, which I think is the point, and so like it's great, but like also the further we get into it, it's just like more and more secrets and like more things you're not allowed to know or say, or like tell people. So
And then you're
yeah.
just stuck like, does it have to be like this? Why does it have
Right.
to be like, at least that's where I'm stuck at.
Yeah.
Me
Right.
personally.
It's just, it's like this is the way they've decided to protect themselves. But I'm also
Yeah.
sure that back when they decided that this was the system to do that, or like the right way to do that, it wasn't like it was a full on uh it wasn't a full on system, right? Like now it's like baked into their society and it likely wasn't originally. And now it's like, okay, you're just adding things in to make it to continue to keep the
Yeah.
secret as things grow, but then it's like now you're bumping into like ethical problems.
For me, I read this chapter as it laying the groundwork for this not being by happenstance, that it is actually tools of manipulation
Mm,
through like intimidation and like just keeping things purposely unclear.
mhm,
Because I've read, so one, they're making the newbie kids feel a kind of like loyalty to the bureau by already making them choose the bureau over their parents when
mm,
making decisions about stuff. So it's already kind of like enforcing this like undergirded like loyalty out of nowhere, like just creating it. And then with the true sight, you're actively asking them to put a medical grade item into their
mhm,
system without them actually even have interacted with you enough to like trust you. So you're inherently telling them they should trust you. And then
mhm.
you further continue to manipulate them. So I'll keep talking about it as the chapter goes on,
Yeah.
where they keep using tools of like manipulating this new person to feel like not only do they need to enforce like barriers between themselves and the family that they do trust, but they also should have loyalty and trust for a system that they've just been introduced to.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely an indoctrination,
Yeah.
And
like,
I
even in the way that they, like, give information too, because it is so piecemeal and it is so, like, a little bit at a time,
It's also
and,
this
like
idea of like enforcing in group out group behaviors. Like now you're part of the
mm,
in group, and those are the
mhm,
out group people. Don't spill the secrets to the out group because you're part of the
mhm,
in group now.
yeah. I was thinking about this as you were talking too, Portia, like the idea that like I think it's like in the first letter that Amari got, it's like from ages 12 to like 18 or something like that, you
mhm,
can get um nominated. So like there is a potential of like someone joining this world at like 15, 16, 17, 18.
right.
And the difference is in like development, decision making, discernment between a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old. And it's like neither one of them are great. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like
That frontal
18-year-olds make
lobe
some
ain't fully
a frontal
developed.
lobe ain't frontal lobing. Um yeah, but so like none of those are like ideal times to make like really thought out decisions, but like goodness gracious, the span of like the decisions a 12-year-old makes.
Mhm,
Especially in Amari's case where she is kind of, and she says it kind of very explicitly later on in this chapter, but like she's on a mission, right? And so she has like an end goal in mind. And so a lot of considerations that I would think that like someone even a little bit older and who has been through a little bit more experiences would think of, even if, and I like to think that Amari is smart enough and kind of mature enough to have like thought about these things in a different circumstance, like in the circumstance that she finds herself in at this point, she's like, none of it matters. I'm taking
yeah.
all
Like,
the
because there are
risks
moments
because
where you can see her, like, have questions, um, or just be like, "Huh, that's weird," or, "Oh, that's really cool. I wonder what that is. I wanna know more about that," but then also being like, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't actually matter to,
yeah.
like, my goal. So, Yeah. I think it's an interesting way to like an interesting viewpoint to come at it from, because then you can kind of like see all of the like workings around her, but also see her just barreling forward, like whether she notices them or not. Like it's an interesting way to come into the world. It's like, oh, that's weird, but it's fine, like whatever, because that's over here, and I'm like, she has like tunnel vision, I guess.
Right.
And so yeah, I think it's really interesting to view the world with that kind of like perspective, I guess. Um so she puts the eye drops in. She's a little disappointed. So there's like a, what's the word? Disclaimer on the True Sight bottle that's like, on the rare occasion you find yourself with X-ray vision, please consult a doctor. She doesn't get X-ray vision, so she's just like, dang, that's disappointing. But she
I
didn't.
also
She didn't.
enjoyed
Oh, go
that
ahead.
this moment shows her having difficulty getting the eye drops in, because that was a
Yes,
legit
yes.
issue I had as a child. Was
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I blink too much for eye drops. Like I can't get these in. And
It's
like
like
I
you
also
dropped it
have,
like right under your eye, and it's like
you
it's funny, like I try to because like now I do them all the time because allergies or
hmm
whatever, but like the few times that I try to like help Ami, she's like always cringing away. She's like, no, don't do it. No, this is horrible. I'm like, dude, it's not that, like, be still. So imagine like trying to do it on your own at that age. You're just like, and then
I
she
love how
does a
she like
little
gives herself like a
dance.
victory dance. Yeah, I'm like, I
Yeah.
will try to. The way that I just like, I just like I couldn't. And like now that I've been wearing contacts since like I was either 17 or 18. So
Mhm.
like I've been wearing them for such a long time that like now I'm
You just
it's funny
plop
to
them
my
in your
kids
eye.
describe it as your eye, and I'm like, you're touching the plastic that's touching your eye. You're not touching
Yeah.
your eyeball. Um, but the fact that I'm like so used to it, like it kind of like opens me up for things that I definitely would have like flinched and cringed and like had a red eye and been like, "F it, I'm wearing glasses today," kind of thing.
Yeah.
At a younger age than, especially even when I started at 17, 18. So yeah, it was very cute to me. So I'm like, that is a legit concern that I had, and I'm glad that it's being represented because it was a struggle.
Mhm. So there's a knock on the door. Mrs. Walters is turned up to tell her off for sneaking out. But as she's doing that, Amari's like, the true sight starts to kick in, and she realizes that Mrs. Walters is green. Um, she's like, how long has this been going on? Mrs. Walters freaks out and is like, wait, you can really see me? Um, and then she is like, "That's what I get for buying that discount concealer," and like throws some powder, disappears in a poof of smoke, and it's just like gone. So it's the first time we really get to see like Mr. Ware wasn't wrong. Like literally the supernatural are everywhere. They are like, he was like, they're your neighbors, they're, teachers and all that kind of stuff. Like quite literally her neighbor is a witch. Um
And not only a
which
witch though, I was like, yo, copyright infringement, wicked much? Like,
Oh
also
yeah,
though,
right. Because she's green. She does say you look like the
and
Wicked
she
Witch of
says
the.
the East
She said
or
like that from
Yeah,
that
whatever.
really old movie, and I'm like, okay, Peter Parker. I said I literally wrote, okay, Peter Parker.
right. Like how old are you?
I mean, in fairness, the original Wizard of Oz
It
is
is
old.
It's
old.
very old.
I'm
It
just
is
saying the
very
way that
old.
she
So,
phrased it, it's the same way that Peter Parker phrased it in the MCU, where he's like,
yes.
you know that really old movie? Like, yeah,
Star
I'm
Wars.
Peter Parker.
Which is also, yes, it is an old movie.
So yeah, so now she kind of sees like, okay, no, Mr. Ware was not exaggerating. Now I know what the true sight is actually doing. And she's kind of like, what have I gotten myself into? Um, but again, she doesn't really care. She's trying to find Quentin. So now it's the next day. Her mom is late, and she was like, "We agreed that she was gonna come get me at 3, and now it's after 4, and here she is with a bunch of stuff." So she's like nervous, which makes sense as the child of like Black
Chronically late.
people. You just
Same.
you
All
spend a
that.
lot of time sitting there like by the door, like, pretty sure we gotta go. And then they're still puttering around the house or doing other stuff, and you're just like, okay, I guess we don't have to go.
I mean, you're the one who can drive, and I can
Right,
only control
literally.
so much.
It's
I'm
like,
just gonna stress out
I'm
over here on my own. Okay.
like, are you sure? We always make fun of my dad because he doesn't do it so much anymore. I mean, he does other things, but if there was a time where it'd be like, okay, we got to be out. And the minute everybody else is ready to go, he would go and make a smoothie. And we'd just be like, so, okay, guess we're not leaving yet. Like, you could have done that 10 minutes ago,
While we
but
were,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's like, it's just a thing. Like, I get it. It's cultural. Mom's was like, I gotta stop at the store. It is what it is. So she comes in with a bunch of bags, is really excited about Amari being in this camp, and just like thinks that it'll be good for her. And we find out she got a bunch of stuff for her because so the like in the starter kit, it's like all you have to do is bring yourself. But Mom's was like, okay, sure. So she grabs new pajamas, hair products, which is super important, fuzzy socks. So it's like a little like care kit, which is cute. And then she also gets Amari a phone, which it's like the newest one, the one she's wanted her whole life. But Amari is also kind of like, how did you get it? Because I
How
thought
is
we
this
couldn't afford
happening?
it. Um, so yeah, so then we get a little bit into how her mom ended up taking out like a payday loan in order to get these things for Amari. Um, which
I
is
hate it.
like, yeah. Very
Being
much
poor is
so.
so expensive.
So
And
expensive.
I do love this part that kind of like, if you think about it, like the main demographic reading this book is like 12, 10 to, I mean, that's like what, 10 to 13-year-olds. And so like this idea of like letting them know that like
Payday loans are
these
predatory.
things have a cost and like those costs are predatory. You know what I mean? And like I
Mhm.
think that like when you do live in a if you're Amari and live in a house like this where you guys are go like paycheck to paycheck, like those kids are much more aware
Yeah.
of that precariousness than like maybe anyone else who's like picking up this book, right? So like for me, when I first read it, I was like, what does Amari know about a payday loan? And I was like, that is privilege just screaming out, you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have known that because,
Mhm.
I'm not saying we weren't rolling, but like I was never thinking about like our finances or how things come. And like that's something that like Amari is acutely aware of because it's just her mom. We see how much her mom works and they've had a previous bad experience with it. So
Mhm.
um I hate it in terms of like the world we live in, but as like a story device or like I think it's like a really interesting choice that he made.
When I read this for the first time, like I was driving with the book already, like I really was picking up the vibes when I was into it. When I read this, I felt very like seen and represented because I was hyper aware of our financial struggles as a child,
Mhm.
and also had similar like concerns about um if the thing that my mom did now was gonna come up to bite us later, and like how it'd be hard to deal with that. And so when I saw the payday loan, I was like, oh crap, like wow. And then like whenever like it showed her reaction to it and like the conversation they had about like avoiding talking about it, because there's like it's this phrase is like a familiar creeping sadness.
Mhm.
And I was very much like taken back into like that being young and having that level of concern about things that are supposed to be adult concerns, but they're actually like if you are aware of the struggle of it, um the concerns that you hold anyway, whether your
Mhm.
parent is trying to protect you from it or not. Like especially if they're like her mom is here is like tells her how she was able to afford it. um and I love that that was like so well represented here, and it kind of shows a lot for like how financially insecure households are not only insecure but they're also open to like vulnerability and predatory like practices and schemes, and that just makes it so much more vulnerable and so much more insecure as a household. And it's just super sad because we do like Quentin isn't there, and he was the only other person who was bringing a source of income to the house. We don't hear a lot about their father, and that's for a reason. And so it's interesting to me because early in the chapter, the mom says something about like when Quentin went to the camp, he came back so much more mature. However, Amari's already holding a lot of maturity that a lot of other kids may not have to worry about because she's already concerned about things that are usually out of, or not usually, can be out of range for a lot of kids her age. So I love that it was a representative thing of all of that. I also wanted to note that when Mrs. Ware came up to the house, I was annoyed at her because she said something about, I saw who you were with, implying that her being with Jaden at the bus stop was bad. And I could see that being like, oh, you were with a boy kind of thing, like that kind of thing. But for me, it gave more of like a stereotype of like, oh, Quentin has been one of them little boys who hangs around with all those older boys or whatever, and he's a bad reputation or whatever, and you shouldn't be around him, kind of that, and like the stereotype of that. And I was really annoyed. But I love that this is like the interrogation of like belonging to communities and showing like actual things that are going through that are happening within communities, and how people talk about like each other within the community, and how we struggle in the things individually to ourselves in the communities as well. So I don't know that I'm sure there's other households in the community that have gone through similar things financially with payday loans as Amari and her family, but I don't know that they talk about it. I feel like it's a thing that financials are always kept quiet, unless maybe someone kind of can tell what's going on, and then they kind of try to help you out. But for the most part, no one really digs into the nitty gritty unless they just have that close of a relationship. So it feels like it's adding up to all the pressure that Amari is carrying, because she's carrying the pressure of like uh wanting to live up to Quentin's maturity that her mom says that she needs to have because she just lost scholarship to the school, and now her mom is digging another financial hole just to make sure that Amari can make it into the camp well. And so that's another pressure that Amari has to hold on to. But she's also got the pressure of trying to figure out what's going on with Quentin and keep the secrets about where she's going to find out about Quentin. So it's just a lot of stress adding up more and more for Amari.
And it's a lot of stuff that she can't control. Like she sees it
She has no
happening.
control over it.
She understands that it's bad, or that it shouldn't be happening, or that like, you can wish that things were different, but if you can't actually like do anything about it, it's very distressing.
So we also see too, like, just once we go a little bit further down to this page, like Mama Peters is not doing this just like blindly. Like she has faith that like this actually, like for her, this is an investment, and she understands kind of, I think what she's trying to like convey to Amari is that she understands the risk and thinks that it is worth it, in order for not only for Amari to be able to attend this camp, because like Amari could attend this camp without a phone, right? But for Amari to attend this camp and be safe and able to like reach her and contact her, which I think is probably even more at the forefront of her mind because Quentin has disappeared. And so like that open communication and knowing that like you can call me and I will come get, you know what I mean? Like I am available to you, I think is for both of their peace of mind as well. But that Mama Peters has thought this through, in the sense that like this will help you succeed at this camp, and succeeding at this camp will then make this sacrifice of this payday loan well worth it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a reckless decision, just a risky one. Like she's thought it through.
Yeah.
She knows the risk that she's taking, but it's not like she just did it on like impulse or something.
Yeah,
like
she's
that.
not trying to flex for Amari, like, oh, I got you this phone, like as like a, congratulations for getting into this camp, even though you were grounded two days ago. Like it is definitely like a like I
like
thought
practical.
this through. It's practical, yeah. It's just that it just so happens that, and like I said, like it's very expensive to be poor, because in order to make this practical choice, she has to do something that's kind of impractical in terms of the loan.
Mm-hmm.
Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create, a collective providing content through the lens of critical and creative fandom. If you want to support or partner with BNC on projects like Wizard Team, let's build. Find out how at blacknerdscreate.com/support.
Okay, so they are, like we said before the break, running on CPT. So she has to be there by 6. It's 4:07, and apparently there's a big music festival downtown, which means there's going to be lots of traffic. Someone who commutes often, I know the vibes. It's the struggle. So Mom was like, that's fine though. Like, we can get there if we take the side roads and the back streets. We're not gonna get on any major roads, which reminded me so much of our auntie Robyn. And how she don't ever want to get on the freeway. She's always gonna be taking some side roads. And like, I took one of those roads one time when I got tired of traffic, and it honestly
it takes longer.
It takes longer. It literally takes longer.
You are in constant motion, which is, I think.
But even still, you're not, because then you're hitting stoplights, and then you're sitting there, and that light is hella long, and then there are more cars on the freeway because it's still rush hour, or not on the freeway, on the road because it's still rush hour. So it doesn't actually.
And you're going longer. Way out of the way. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I'd rather just sit in traffic and be a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, sometimes people who enjoy those and enjoy the scenic route, or like the not being in as congested, like gas, like smelling all the gasoline and fuel exhaust coming out like on the highway from the traffic. But yeah,
it's like,
it really makes sense to do it is whenever it's like a clear day. But if it's a clear day, just go and take the freeway.
Yeah, go take.
It's the illusion.
Is like if there's an actual if you're at like a stop. You know what I mean? Like, if the freeway is at a standstill, then
if there's an accident that you're trying to get around or something like that. It's just the illusion of motion that makes people think that they're going somewhere when you are literally not.
Mm-hmm.
You're not saving any time.
Exactly. So it was just funny when I read it because I was like, I know that life too. But as we're taking the scenic route, Amari is seeing more of this supernatural world. She's realizing how many people that she would just see on the regular are actually supernatural. So she sees this one person who her mom cuts him off, and he has a paw, he's growling. But mom doesn't see that because she doesn't have the eye drops. We see some dude at a bus stop who's literally on fire. He lights his cigarette with his flame. There's a woman with snakes in her hair. They stop at some red light, and there's a dark alley filled with glowing eyes. So Amari's like, okay, this is kind of crazy. I might just after that, she's like, okay, I'm gonna just mind my business, keep my eyes in the car.
Looking in the car.
Before something jumps out at me.
The thought I had about this passage was it sounded like a commercial for True Sight. If you were True Sight had a commercial, they'd be like, when you want you to put on the eye drops, the whole world awakens for you. And then you're driving down the street and there's a guy with a paw growling, and then when you turn around, there's a woman with Medusa's hair who has who's waving you into traffic, letting you have the right of way. It was a whole montage of why you should use True Sight so you can see the world around you in a greater way.
And I was just like, this is a accident waiting to happen. I guess I'm glad that she's 12 and she can't drive.
Yeah.
And so she'll get used to it before she starts being able to drive, and then she'll be used to these sights. But if I was 16 and I put on True Sight and drove myself to the hotel,
it would be overweight.
I'd have been in an accident. I'd have been like, listen, I'm sorry I'm late, but I turned left and there was a man on fire lighting a cigarette on his forehead. And I ran off the curb. I'm sorry. Like, I was unprepared.
Right. Like, it was literally a fire and I got scared. It's fine. So Amari's like, okay, yeah, this is like, I didn't know this world existed 2 days ago, but clearly it's here. It's been here.
Here we are.
She has a moment where she kind of like wishes she could tell her mom about it. But okay, so we talked about like the fact that the Bureau does not tell non-Bureau parents like what's actually going on, but then we talked about Amari, and so like she doesn't tell her because she's like, Mom would not want me to go to the same secret agency that had something to do with her son going missing. Like, it would be it would be raps. And so it also in some ways, like, again, like for Amari, it's more of a loyalty to herself than to the Bureau, because it's not because the Bureau said to keep it secret, it's because otherwise I can't go and like find out what's going on with my brother.
But I also like that Amari says, honestly, this whole thing makes her nervous too. Because I'm like, I feel like she's talking about it being her mom's concerns, but low key, like sometimes the mom's concerned voices are our concerned voices. So,
yeah, like the
they're the ones who
conscience.
teach us how to like have fear and how to be aware of things or whatever. So it's like when your mom is like, it's like so there's some things that you get over. You're like, my mom be tripping on that. That's not even a big deal. But there's some things like, oh crap, Mama would not like this, and I don't know if I like it either. So I love that this is kind of like her using her mom lens. Like, my mom would be upset, but she honestly is upset as well.
That's real.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's super overwhelming, and like, it's just a lot to take in when, again, you only learned that it existed 2 days ago. And even then you barely knew. Like, you still don't really know what you're getting into. So to keep herself from freaking out, she pulls out 1001 careers from her bag. Only this time, because she has the eye drops, she can actually read. There are actually words on the pages. And like her mom asks what it is, and she kind of freaks out for a second before she remembers that moms can't see anything in it because it looks blank to those without true sight. So she's like looking through the careers. She finds this full page photo of a bulky bearded guy in a cowboy hat decked out in a dark gray suit. He's aiming a flaming axe toward the camera. And it says his gray eyes are so intense, it's like he's daring me to turn the page without reading first. So she reads, and it's this ad, like, or job listing, for the junior agent position in the Department of Supernatural Investigations. This part is like very Men in Black. Like, as I was reading it, I was just like, okay, yeah. Because like it's like you have the Bureau as a whole, but like this is very much just like it's called a junior agent. You can become a special agent today. So the minimum badge requirement is bronze, and chief responsibilities are to serve and protect both humans and non-humans alike against supernatural threats, foreign and domestic, enforcement of the laws that govern supernatural entities living in the known world. Those who excel in this position may be promoted to senior agents, surveillance agents, special agents, and more. So it's definitely supernatural cops. That's what this is.
But I want to go back to my indoctrination thing for the way that they described Agent Beauregard Magnus, the person with in the photo, as a superhero. And they're like using like tropes that people who are not aware of this world would look up to and idolize as like
or even those who are
indoctrination.
Propaganda.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting that enforcement equals superheroism. And I am like, y'all keep like it continues to like make the case because there's more instances of this, of like, you should look up to these people, you should these are the people that you should listen to, these are the people that we idolize, these are people you should also idolize, etc., and it's creepy.
Yeah. We finally have like a list of like noteworthy agents, which again kind of like goes into the whole superhero of it all. But there's Beowulf, Captain Ahab, Abraham Van Helsing, Captain Nemo, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. It looks like Dr. Jekyll was a part-time researcher, and then Mr. Hyde was the agent. Sherlock Holmes, Maria Van Helsing, and Quentin Peters. So here we're like starting to get a little bit more information about Quentin and like what he was doing. So we find out he was an agent. Um, and I love this part because Amari's like, this is crazy. Agent Magnus looks like a person you'd call if a bear got lost in the zoo. Quentin is afraid of spiders, even the tiny ones. Um, so it's just like her
Mhm.
learning more about her brother than she would guess or even like think given like what she knows about him and his personality. Um she so
I
she
love that she
asked
continues
oh,
to
go ahead.
shade him as a sibling.
Yes.
I mean, it is like ingrained, I think. Like there's just like you can't stop it from happening. It just happens naturally.
Mhm.
There's a moment to shade your sibling, you gotta shade your sibling.
Yeah, you gotta take it. Take
Like,
that
y'all look up to
opportunity.
this guy?
I was like, "Are y'all
This
for real?" Like, this he's a nerd.
He's
Like, are
scared of
you for real?
spiders.
Are you sure?
Can't be that
So
hard.
right, if Quentin, who's afraid of spiders, can do it, I can do it. So she asks her mom, like, what she knows about the summer camp, and so we find out it's the way they explain it to non-bureau parents is that it's a leadership camp where you get to go and, like, meet people in high places, essentially. Um, and she's just like, "These kind of programs will pay off when you're an adult. It's not about what you know, it's who you know." So she's just trying, like, anything she can do to get her kids opportunities that will get them out of their neighborhood is essentially, like, what her mom is, that's, like, what she's about, which is what we have known since the first or, like, learned in the first chapter. Um, she then makes Amari promise that she'll go to college and instead of following in Quentin's footsteps. Um, and Amari is like, "Do you think they have anything to do with, like, his disappearance?" Um, which mom is like, "No, otherwise I would obviously not let you come, but I want you to, like, use this opportunity to get a leg up and to, like, have a," she says, "safe and happy life," which is really ironic given that she's driving her to the place where, her son went missing
It
and
is
she
not
doesn't
safe.
it's not safe.
She's
We'll
not.
see if it's happy. We don't know. It's that
Yeah.
we definitely know it's not safe though. Um, and again, going back to like not giving parents full information before having them turn their kids over to you.
But I also wanted to
Um,
note here again with the indoctrination and manipulation of the like they are putting forward the idea that this is all about being in the right circles and
mhm.
mingling with the right people, which like as her mom notes is something that is it is true about adult life, but the system itself is wrong.
Yeah.
Not that she can do anything about it, so she's like playing into it to like get her kids a leg up where she can. And I think as you like when we talk about through here, like all the impressions that are made going forward and everything is like very much like using all the like auspices of like everything being like privileged and elite and all of that. Not only to kind of like lull people into a sense of like security, but also it is true to like what we will learn about how the system rolls later on,
Right.
like what they value, who they
Mhm.
value.
Yeah.
Um, so they pull up to the Vanderbilt Hotel at 6:02, which honestly, it's not terrible.
That's not
Like, to me,
bad.
that's on time.
Right. You get a 10-minute buffer, don't you?
I feel like
In
Like
polite
if you
society.
if I can run real quick, I'll be fine.
yeah,
Actually,
I would say
I
even, like,
should be
5
okay.
minutes. She's under 5 minutes, that's on
Right.
time. But, so she pulls up, we see a dude with a cowboy hat, which obviously she recognizes as Agent Magnus from the job listing. So she runs out, she's like, Agent Mattis, I'm here. He doesn't stop or turn around. Like, it's like maybe he hears her or not, it's not clear, but he keeps going. And then when Amari says that she's Quentin's little sister, that's what gets him to like stop and pay attention. He sits and like talks with the mom. Looks like they little flirt. A little bit of like, but it also doesn't seem like it means anything, but just like, harmless flirting, whatever. But then, so this part kind of got me, because then he turns to Amari and is like, you're late. And I'm just like, she can't drive. And this is like something that it's like not really within, like it's in this moment, but also just like took me back to like childhood and like playing sports and stuff. And it's like, if you're late to practice, you gotta run laps. But it's like, I wasn't the one who got me here. It's not to say that it's not always
Like,
a kid's
I'm
fault
not
that you're
in
late,
control.
but there are moments where like it's really
Mhm.
the parent's fault. Your dad was making a smoothie and you had to be at practice. You know what I mean? Like, so it's always like that. I don't know. I never understood that as a kid. Like obviously there's like importance in being on time, but if it's outside of your control, then like I don't think you should get punished for it being outside of your control, you know?
I have very complicated feelings about being on time because I'm never on time, and um, taking a long time to figure out why I'm never on time, which is that I do not perceive time, which kind of is
Yeah.
a problem when you need to be somewhere on time. But um, I agree with you about like it's not her fault, or she doesn't have really like control over it. But I also feel like in even if it was like, you know, Amari was holding them up or whatever, like in
Mhm.
modern society, especially with like driving, there's a music festival. There's like, there are like a lot of like things that are out of your control and out like um just factors that you have no control over. And there's a
Mhm.
sense that we assign like a moral value to kind of being able to like just read the future. Like it's a moral failing if you're not on time, but it's also a moral failing to like waste time. So if you show up somewhere
Mhm.
too early, you know what I mean? Like we're supposed to just like, I think people get a little bit more grace when they're early, but if they're too early, right? Like we were just like making fun of my grandmother who was like, if you had to be at the airport at 5, she was showing up at your house at 2, and you're like, What are we doing for these 3 hours? It takes 10
Right.
minutes to get there, right?" Like, so like there's also like you can fail either way, but then there's like this assigning of like motive, I guess, or like or um intention to being
Mhm.
late, as if it's just not like a happenstance or like something that like, whatever. And I could be a little bit more like accepting if he was like, you were late, I'm noting this, and if it continues to happen, we'll have a problem, right? Because that's when
Right.
you like for me, right? The first time you meet me and I'm late, don't hold that against me. You don't know what's going on. The fifth,
Mhm.
sixth, seventh time, like, yeah, that's who I am as a person, and I'm, like,
But I want to say this because it's also, I just want to make sure that we're very clear. Like, performance of timeliness and absenteeism is an ableist performance thing of like
Mhm.
holding this like that's all dependent on the person having the ability to be able to do all these things, right, and be on time. Say someone has a chronic illness and that's something they're consistently contending with. You cannot plan when you're going to have a flare or XYZ.
Mhm.
So being there, albeit, but especially if it's 2 minutes late,
Yeah, I'm
that
like, that's
is probably a win for
yeah.
them.
Mhm.
And
And my
you're
thing is
taking
like,
away from that win.
if she was like an hour late, then I feel like this talk would maybe be a little bit
Without
more
an
warranted,
excuse
only
too, like, it doesn't
because
have,
it's
like, a valid, like
right, if she's just like, "Oops, my bad, I'm here." You know what I mean? Like, I could see it being like, okay. Because there is like there's like a lot of things in, like Robyn was saying, like it's very complicated. There is something to be said about other people's time as well, though. It's just like a very like it's so many different inputs and outputs for this like thing. So like if Magnus was standing out there for an hour and he's, that's a problem. But literally 2 minutes, like she's on time. She's not
Yeah.
late.
But it's
Like, I
also
just
not only like if Magnus is standing out there for an hour, that's a problem. But my thing is that like I'm okay with you
I think like
mentioning
you get like a
the
warning,
timeliness
yeah.
part of it as a like yeah, or as a not even a like to me like the first time you meet someone, it shouldn't even be a warning. It should be like a I took note of this.
Mm-hmm.
The second time would be a warning to me, right? It's like,
Right.
okay, I took note of this. Like, there are plenty of reasons why this could have happened. First off, she just found
She
out
just
about
found
it
out.
yesterday. Like,
The camp technically
you know what
started
I mean? Like,
already.
you didn't, right? You didn't give her the time to prepare. And so this is one of those things where you, like, to me, it's like mentioning it is just like I've noticed this. Let's not make it a
Mhm.
habit.
Right.
Right? Which is
It
like a
doesn't have to
thing that then
be
like sparks in Amari. Like it shouldn't be like you don't make it like a thing,
a
but it also
thing.
sparks in
Yeah.
Amari once she's in this program where she is kind of gonna like she's not waiting on her mom to drive her across town, right? She's gonna be kind of more in control of her own time. It will help her be like, oh, if I have to meet Magnus somewhere, I have to make sure and
That I'm
plan
there
better.
on the dot.
But also like right, but also like could she have does she have a way of like letting them know that she's gonna be late or they're stuck in traffic? Like that's
Nope.
the other part about this that like you know what I mean? So there's like I
communication
said,
is a
there's like a
two-way street.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So it's like
absolutely.
you
Like
yes, be
you have
respectful
to
of
communicate.
Magnus's time.
But you can't even tell him that
Exactly.
like,
Like
"Oh,
be
I'm gonna
respectful
be
of
2 minutes late." So he can be ready for that. And like the way that
or
then
we're,
the way
like,
he does
pulling
it,
up right
especially cuz he's
now.
like and my thing is too is it's also like the juxtaposition of him like flirting with her mama and being like, it's always a pleasure. I'll make
Yeah,
sure
and, like,
Amari's well
turning them
looked
down.
after.
Mhm.
And then is like, you know, you had one favor because I
The
messed with
first thing you
Quentin.
say to me after ignoring me.
Is like, we do not make excuses. If you or anybody else, you'd be headed back home. Like, for real, she just drove like 2 hours to get here. And it's like, you ain't got no more favors now. Like, it just is like a lot for somebody that you just met.
What if
yeah.
she had
And
run into a man with a cabbage cart on the way there? What if he
My
was just gonna buy
cabbages.
cabbages? And they had to help the man get his cabbages together because that was the kind of day they were having.
Just like
And
we're
like,
saying,
what do you do with that?
context matters.
it
Context
does. It's like,
matters.
there's a difference
And
between
also, like,
excuses and context. I really like, yeah,
right.
there's a difference.
And
So
I also
it's,
think that like, but also the fact that she like once she's on campus or whatever, like her schedule is like her being on time to places. That's on her. Like that's
Exactly.
right.
her.
That's
Like
what I was saying
It's
is like
literally on her.
if you just say like I'm making note of this, let's not make it a habit. It's not a
mhm.
warning. It's just like I noticed
Mhm.
this thing. Then when she is more in
In
control and more
control.
culpable for the timing, which is like that in this school, like or in this program,
Yeah.
right? She's
Yeah.
not really contending with like the traffic of a city and
Hmm.
music festivals and her mother's work schedule. Cause like even her mom isn't fully in control of her time. Like, yes, she decided to go shopping and stuff like that. But like again, they had a day and she had stuff she had needed supplies. She needed
Hmm.
pajamas. Like
You
you know
just
what
made
I
another
mean?
point for my argument that I'm gonna make in a minute. But yes.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
like
it's
when she
just
is more yeah. I don't like it.
yeah.
It was
No,
rude.
it's very like, dang, for real. Like you coming in a little like it's like please relax. Um
Coming in real hot first. And the first time I met you, like you're telling me that I'm making a bad impression by being 2 minutes late, but you're making a bad impression by telling me there goes one favor owed. Excuse me?
for after
Excuse
two
you?
minutes. It was 2 minutes. You actually wasted more
For
time
2 minutes?
telling me off about them two
Yes.
Yep.
minutes.
That oh my gosh, that was what my main that used to get I hate injustice so much that it came from me being starting as a kid. And that used to be the most annoying thing to me. It's like, you're mad
You're
about
lecturing
this
me.
thing taking time or whatever, but you taking time to do this, but while we're trying to go do the thing, is making us take more time. It makes no sense. Now I'm going to be 10 minutes late because you wanted to stand here, flirt with my mama, and then lecture me. So
exactly. It's like, Anna's supposed to be somewhere anyway. So he's like, you know, time to go after all of that. He asks Amari if he's ready, if she's ready, and she's like, I think so. He grins and says, oh, I doubt that very much. Which is the end of that chapter.
I just want to link the one more thing that I caught in this passage, which was that he says, always a pleasure, Renee. And I didn't clock before that the mom's name is Renee.
Oh, yeah.
Amari's middle name is Renee.
Yeah.
And the fact that her mom gave her first name as her middle name is just hilarious to me.
First off, my name is Renee. Hey, Renee. Secondly, my brother's middle name is my dad's first name. I love that.
It's fun. I think it's funny. She's like, oh no, like Renee will live on. We will not. She's gonna make sure it stays in the family.
Yeah.
It's a family name.
Okay. MVP?
Okay.
I said mom's because she's doing what she needs to do, and you know, parenting with all of the information she is being given. like you know, she's trying to do her best by her kid. And she should just be given more information, I think, personally.
Yeah, I mean, with the information that she has, she's making like good judgment calls. They're bad judgment calls only because she doesn't know what she doesn't know. Like, you lied to me, so I made a like cognizant decision based off of lies you told.
Right.
That's not my problem. That's your problem. So yeah, I agree. I made Amari my MVP. I think that there's like the line in which she says, I'm only entering this program to find out what happened to my brother. Once I do, I don't care if I ever see the supernatural world again. And like, we talk about it multiple times, but I think like that just like is a great like encapsulation of like Amari's making these decisions with a goal in mind. She's very goal oriented, and she is like, even when these things scare me, even when I'm like, this is suspect, like I'm clocking and I'm taking note of this stuff, but like at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I have to do to find my brother. And I think that like sense of determination and like dedication and commitment is really admirable, especially thinking of who I was at 12. Like, something scared me. I was not doing it. I'm sorry to this brother. Can't be me. I'm gonna have to, like, me and mama gonna have to sit down. I'm gonna tell you what I know, and we'll deal with the consequences of me breaking secrets later. But like, you gonna have to fix it, mama, because I put on these eye drops, and the neighbor is green, and I that's where I check out. So this is on you now. I am a child, so like, kudos to Amari, because I'm a coward. No, absolutely not. Immediately no.
I also made Amari my MVP, mainly because the pressure is consistently getting Wessa for her, and she is still looking them in the face and taking them down where she can. That whole money convo especially just like took me back to times where I was whenever I was like, oh, how am I gonna have this and that, and then somehow we made it through. And but also the like putting stuff on your own back that you probably shouldn't, and like the fact that, and I'm trying to look at where it starts, the passage where her mom explains that not only did she get some money from payday loan, but she had a little money stashed away in case of emergency. And since the program offers a scholarship, then she won't be able to. She'll have that money to use for this shopping trip and not put towards her tuition for the next school year. And then Amari's like, the scholarship isn't guaranteed, and there's a chance I won't get it. And then her mom is like, but you're my daughter and Quentin's baby sister. There's no chance they won't give you that scholarship. and she just has to sit with the fact that she's not nearly as good as Quentin used to be, and she just doesn't say anything about it because she doesn't want to make her mom sad. But it's consistent pressure and stress that's put on this 12-year-old girl, and she shows up 2 minutes late, and this man tells her that the one favor she could look for from him is now gone, and she's just up like, what is this? And so I feel for her in so many ways, and I think she's doing the best she can, just like her mom's doing her best she can, and I really have my heart out for her in this chapter especially.
Okay, what about benched?
I benched the bureau. Just I wanted to kind of try to go back to benching one person, but like I don't know who in the bureau decided that you are going to lie to non-bureau parents about what their 12-year-olds are
Right.
getting into over a full summer when you're keeping them full time. But that ain't cool with me. So whoever that person is benched. But since I don't know that person's name, all of them. And like, but no, actually, all of them are benched because they all know that this is happening and no one is whistleblowing. We don't have like Magnus is pulling Renee to the side and being like, so this is what's going on. Just flirting with her and then taking her daughter into
Her
unknown
daughter,
dangers? No.
knowing that her
Knowing.
son has disappeared because
Yeah,
of
no,
this
yeah, they
is
all gotta sit. They all
it's
gotta sit.
it's not good. It's definitely not good. I benched Magnus just because I'm trying. But it was a very like when I wrote it in my notebook, I had a question mark because I was like, the bureau is really wilding right now as a whole. But I did Magnus specifically for like putting a little too much heat on the don't be late lecture. Like he needed to relax. Even though like generally I don't have a huge problem with him, but like this particular chapter is just like not a good first impression, bro. Like relax. It's okay. She's 12.
In a similar vein, I also benched the bureau, but I put it on like it's the whole system is culpable, but I put it on this bureau execs for having this policy and not changing it, or even like in the founding of it, having written it in such a way that they would have actually been like doing the things that we proposed earlier in this episode about at least giving the parents the minimum of information about this world that their kids are entering into, and gaining their consent, like informed consent, and then swearing them to secrecy with even stronger than Beyonce's NDAs, like non-disclosures, like some like that's what they could have done. Because if it's magically binding, it's like even stronger than Beyonce level NDAs. They could
I
have done
love
that,
that
and they didn't.
Portia's measurement for the strength of an NDA is Beyonce. It's like
But
whatever
it's
Twitter
very
is doing,
strong.
because we know every single email that a Twitter employee gets as soon as they get it, whatever that is. And then there's like the government, and then there's like Beyonce. Okay? So you need to have magic if you're going to outdo Beyonce's NDA.
Very much so. It's true.
And I also benched predatory capitalism, because if it were not for Amari's mother not having the ability to control her own time, if it were not for like the lack of money that is available to this small family to just do basic stuff, then there would not be so much stress on this 12-year-old and her mother and other people in her community, on Jaden, on the kids that he rolls with, on all, like it would not be occurrent. And the payday loans are just a symptom of predatory capitalism, but it's such a like easy snowball into like a bigger, like an avalanche effect of predatory capitalist behaviors, that I just like am not only disgusted but also just like deeply like bereft and like sad about how big of a role it plays in people's lives when they really just need help. And I think brain drain is also a symptom of that, and like so that the also like dependency on like scholarship just to make a better life is also a level of predatory capitalism. How do we talk about that? IDK, because it does help, but it also does suck. So all of that was my bench for this week.
Wow, a lot. Thank you guys so much for listening. Join us next week when we discuss chapter 8.
Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create. If you want to keep up with our other content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. If you happen to still be on Twitter and plan to keep sticking it out, we are, for better or worse. So you can follow us at BLK Nerds Create, at Yana Wrote It, at Robyn_Rambles, and at Porshèa. BNC is also on Instagram at Black Nerds Create. We're on Tumblr at Black Nerds Create. So if you are not on Twitter and deciding to, divest from that and be good to yourself, you can follow us on Instagram and Tumblr as well. Subscribe to our monthly Magic newsletter, and don't forget to rate and review. Thanks, y'all.